Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 105.
Wow.
Yeah, getting up there. So we took last week off because of the Super Bowl, but we are back this week. And what we do every week is we start off with a topic for you guys that we think is going to help you develop your game or make you a better player. And while we're doing that topic and kind of discussing it back and forth, you guys will be sending us your questions. So anything basketball related could be on shooting, dribbling, passing, playing defense, training for, better conditioning or strength, whatever it is. Send us your questions and we will do our best to answer them in the time that we have. So the best place to reach us is always on Twitter. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. So just shoot us your questions there. You can also catch us on Facebook, Google Plus, and also on YouTube here too. So make sure you send us your questions and we'll try to get to everybody. Remember, this is a live show. This is where we try to answer questions for people. It's going to be a longer format. It's not a regular video. So if this isn't your thing, that's cool. Just remember that. A lot of people like these because we can give them questions right to their face. So we're going to get into our topic today. And just remember that if you share this with your friends and family, it helps us be able to grow and be able to bring in more cool guests. In the past, we've had the professor on, we've had lots of college coaches, we've had Danny Green from the San Antonio Spurs, and coaches that help get kids into colleges. So we really want to bring more people like that to you guys. So if you go out there and share these videos, that's awesome too. All right. So let's jump into our topic for today, which is to trash talk or not to trash talk. And I can guarantee you that we have a very strong feeling on this. But I'm going to let Coach Tom take it over and I'll jump in as needed.
Well, this has just become a part of basketball probably in the last 30 or 40 years. As a young guy, I don't remember it ever being something that people talked to one another and where they were disrespecting them or boasting about themselves or anything like that. But it has really become a part of the game. Some of the all-time trash talkers that you could go back and look at in the NBA are Larry Bird. He was classified as one of the worst. Other guys that were really a part of that whole NBA scene are guys like Rasheed Wallace and what's Miller's name?
Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller.
Yep, and Michael Jordan. I mean, all those guys kind of got into it. But I think it's kind of a product of kind of playground basketball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a very important thing to remember when people are talking about people like that. Number one, they are the all-time greats. They probably have as much leeway as anybody to be able to do that stuff and get away with it.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I think that the worst thing that you can do is get into that trash talking mode because it takes you out of your game. I know a lot of people think that it's really going to make them psychologically have an edge over somebody and all that stuff. I mean, maybe that's the case, but you're also spending time and effort doing that as well. And you're taking yourself psychologically out of the game too. And I think the players that I've played against or have observed that have been the most deadly and the most intimidating and have taken the other opponents out of the game more are the ones that never said a word.
Yeah.
They never had any kind of affect or any kind of reaction to anything on their face. They're just the guys that are the stone cold killers. And, they went out there, they didn't have to say a word. They didn't have to acknowledge the other guy. And they were just dropping points on him, taking the ball from him whenever they wanted. Those are the kind of guys that really are the psychological killers, not the guys that spend their whole time jibber jabbering the whole time, because those guys, it's almost like if you do that stuff, you kind of make yourself more human, I think. And people are, they feel like that motivates them and stuff too,
Yeah. One of the things that I was reading recently, they were talking about how talking smack or trash or whatever was really a boasting or kind of get you to break down where your focus is on more what they're saying to you rather than getting the game done. And a part of this study was saying that those people, they had done studies on this, and the study had revealed the fact that the people who were doing most of the boasting and most of the trash talking were so busy doing that their level of their game fell off, and not so much that it affected the other players. I think if you were two trash talkers getting together, you're probably going to both kind of neutralize one another. But the object of the whole thing is just to try and take you out of your game. And Casey's right about, saying nothing to them. That really kind of bugs people that are into trash talking, because they want a response. They want some kind of a response from you.
And it doesn't matter whether it's you dropping a basket on them. If you hit a 3-pointer in their face and you have no reaction, that bugs people just as much as if you were to get in their face and start talking to them, because they want to see you celebrate and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is talking trash is really, I think people see like these great players do it, and they think that that's somehow some elevating element of their game, and they think that that's going to make them the next Michael Jordan or whatever. The case of the matter is that guys like that, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, these are like all-time great players. They can get away with anything. And it's not I have never seen a guy in person that I thought was good enough to trash talk. I've never seen a guy out there that really was better than anybody else and could get away with it. I mean, it just makes no sense to me at all.
Yeah.
And we get people that leave comments and stuff on our videos and stuff and say that they think it's an important part of the game and all that. I think it is so overwrought that people think that, and it's just it's one of those things that it literally takes you out of your game. I've seen the guys that are really good, and then they start getting into that kind of vein of just trying to trash talk other guys, and you can see their performance just takes a nosedive.
Yeah.
And it's real sad.
Yeah. One of the all-time trash talkers, and maybe one of the first that we really were aware of, was Muhammad Ali. He just really enjoyed, not only during a particular fight that he had, but also leading up to it, just totally inciting and trying to really get the guy to lose his cool, so that he would have more effect on him. And so I think that was an important turning point in all this trash talking. But I think Casey's
but hold on,
hang on. I think the Casey's point that this is maybe a resultant edge that comes from street ball probably is really true, because there's an awful lot of psyching, I think, that they try to do on each other when they play.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When it comes to somebody like Muhammad Ali and just the sport of boxing, it's completely different. It's like you're trying to build up all this hype. You're trying to kind of create this persona for yourself.
Yeah.
I know that Muhammad Ali, he was probably a very nice man, but he knew that he had to create a persona for himself. And that's how you stand out. And
it was all directed at his opponent for the most part too.
Yeah, and it's almost like over the top and tongue in cheek. It's like he wasn't really saying things that he would say under normal circumstances as a human being.
Right.
But the thing about it is that I think that no young player should talk trash. I mean, it is so ridiculous. And here's the other thing too. If your coach sees you doing that, he automatically makes a mental note and thinks that you will make a kind of a judgment on you. Mm-hmm. And it's probably not going to be a positive one, because most coaches are not into the whole trash talk thing.
No.
And, a lot of times it depends on your coach, but a lot of times you'll get pulled out of the game because you're doing stuff like that. And it's not, I think it's not the best sportsmanship type of thing too.
You're right about that one. Yeah.
And here's the other thing too, is that, you mentioned all these guys like Larry Bird and Michael Jordan and all that. I think a lot of those guys too, a lot of them are really good friends with each other.
Yeah, they are.
And so they were probably not saying nasty, mean things so much to each other, but more kind of like, jabs at each other as friends and stuff too. So, I know since when I was playing and stuff that a lot of the younger players aren't saying stuff that's very nice, and they aren't necessarily friends. And it's kind of more of a dirty thing than I think what those guys were doing.
Right.
So I think all in all, people just need to realize that the trash talk is something that is not going to make you a better player, and it doesn't give you as much of a psychological edge as you think you do.
Yeah.
And if somebody is going to break down simply because you're talking to them, they're probably not a very strong player anyway. And like I said, best way to kill somebody is just to have no reaction at all.
Exactly. No response whatsoever, verbally at all, because then you're acknowledging that you're listening to what they're saying to you. And like Casey said, if you're totally quiet, you don't really say anything back to them, just get your job done. You're focusing on your job. They're focusing on trying to take you out of your job.
Don't make eye contact.
Yeah.
If you do that, that drives people nuts.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah. They want you to respond to them. And by the lack of response, that's frustrating for them.
I mean, even with your success, don't respond to them.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, when they sink a shot or they do a dunk or something, they have to do some chest beating thing or stare the guy down. I mean, that's almost expected. Do the unexpected and don't even acknowledge the guy. Don't acknowledge the fact that you just totally demoralize the guy. And that drives people insane. I swear they hate that kind of stuff. I think that the way to go about it is really be the stone cold killer and not the kind of mouthy jerk.
Yeah.
So do we have any more thoughts on that at all?
No, I think that probably is good. I just really personally for myself over the years, I've always kind of really been against that. And I make that very clear to my players that I don't want to hear them talking to anybody in a derogatory way, talking trash. And if I hear them, then they're going to be coming over and sitting down. I just feel like
that's from a coach too.
Yeah, that's from a coach. And the thing that's really important there for me is that when they're focusing on talking trash to somebody or even listening to this other person talking trash, that takes away from the things that they need to get done as players. And so when you get back and you really focus on what you're doing and the other person doesn't really even exist, then I think that's way more productive for you.
Yeah. Okay. So 2 things to wrap it up. Number 1 is that, I think that you should, when it comes to other people talking trash, you should not listen to them either.
Or even acknowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like, let them go off and do whatever they want. It doesn't matter what they say to you, talk about your mom, your sister, whatever. Don't even listen to what they have to say because all they're trying to do is get into your head. And if you let them, then they win.
Yeah.
And if you're just let them say whatever they want, nobody should be able to say anything to you that gets to you ever. It's one of those things where, you can let them have their conversation and you're just being the stone cold killer. And, the other thing is that if you're playing with your friends and stuff like that, it's fine to talk to them and just, good nature ribbing is fine. We're not talking about that stuff. We're talking about just kind of being the dirty kind of, chatty over, the guy that's just trying to psych the guy out of the game.
Yeah.
If you're playing with your friends, that's a different situation. So anyways, okay. So we're going to wrap it up right there. Hopefully you guys got something out of that, but seriously, from a coach's perspective, when coaches see kids talking trash, it is almost an instantaneous judgment call that is made, and it is not a positive one.
Yeah. Just
so you guys know. And if you're trying to decide whether or not to do it, hopefully you'll factor that into your decision. Okay, so let's start taking your guys' questions. If you want us to answer your questions, make sure that you're sending them to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science, or you can send it to us on Facebook, Google+, or here in the YouTube chat here on this stream for this video. And make sure that you guys go out and tell your friends and family to check out the show because it helps us get more cool guests and do more show stuff for you guys. So, okay, so let's start jumping into these things. First question is going to be from B-Ball Boy 467 in the chat. He says, last night I got a technical foul for yelling, "Let's go," after making an and-one layup. The referee said I was taunting and that in high school that's not allowed. By the way, I'm an 8th grade shooting guard and I love your videos. All right. Well, thank you for watching our videos and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
what do you think about that? That's
Well, I read that earlier today and was thinking about it. One of the things that officials are responsible for is maintaining decorum in a game. And maybe they interpret that in different ways. Different people interpret it in different ways. Not having seen the situation, not having heard the situation, it'd be hard for us to judge either that you are right or the official is right. But the thing is, they're just trying to maintain some decorum for the game. And maybe they overstepped it, maybe they didn't. It's hard to know. What if I would do if I were you is I would let it go. And yeah, I think that I see a lot of players that are saying that during the course of the game and different levels of basketball. Let's go, let's go. But they may have interpreted that a little differently than you think they did. So,
yeah. I mean, did you yell it in the guy's face?
yeah,
Did you it's one of those over celebratory things. Was it
yeah,
was it kind of an in your face situation? Like we said, we don't know, but I think one of the key things you said was let it go.
let it go. Yeah,
A lot of people they kind of internalize these single situations that happen, and they let that affect their game for a long time down
yeah,
the road. And it's like, you're going to get weird calls. You're going to get calls that come from refs that are kind of off the wall. You're going to get weird situations in terms of like what happens with your coaches or your teammates. Let it go. If it starts happening on a regular basis, then you need to kind of evaluate yourself.
yeah, right.
But I think that this is probably just one of those freak situations where the referee was probably trying to keep the game in order, and maybe he just overdid it a little bit.
Yeah.
But next time, just forget about it. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's your one story that you got the technical for saying let's go, and you'll tell that 10 years from now.
Well,
So,
you'll tell that story 35 years from now, too.
yeah. So don't worry about it. What is better? This is from Lawman in the chat. He says, "What is better, a first motion shot or a second motion shot?" I think you're talking about if you should have a kind of a one motion shot, or if they're having like a multi motion shot. We are all about efficiency and not having any sticking points where you lose power, right?
Explain what you're talking about, sticking points, so they understand
So
that.
sticking points are like kind of stopping points in your motion. So, let's say your legs extend and then there's a stopping point, and then your upper body extends, and, or you bring the ball back and you hoist it from here. What we like is a fluid motion from your feet to your follow through. It's from the floor all the way up to your finish. And there's no point at which your motion, the upward motion of your shooting mechanics, stops, because when you do that, you lose power, and it also complicates your shot, adds variables, and it makes it harder to make it a repeatable shot.
Right.
So we think that having that fluid one motion shot, I mean, people are designating these one motion shot and two motion shots. That's not really what they are. It's different people have different mechanics, and they develop that because they are, either they're doing it in a vacuum by themselves. They don't have somebody helping them, and they're just kind of trying to put together their mechanics themselves, or they have some help from somebody else. Everybody develops differently. What we think is that you want to have this fluid motion because that's the best motion, but that's where you should build your foundation. Some people are going to shoot different ways and they're going to be effective at it, and that's just because they put in the work to make it happen.
Yeah,
right?
and the other thought that kind of goes along with that as well is that if you happen to have a two-part shot, then what happens is that you tend to lose power on the shot because the legs aren't connected to the stroke itself. And most every coach that teaches coaching in the country, and maybe a lot of other just basketball coaches, will talk to you in these terms, that the shot really begins at the soles of your feet and it ends at the ends of your fingers. And that is a continuous flow, a one motion flow for the shot. And so that is the important thing. If it has that break point anywhere in the shot, like Casey was talking about, where there is a short break or stoppage, that's when you're not going to be very effective. So I think that probably addresses that.
Yeah, and you really want to make sure that you are not just trying to emulate somebody's shooting mechanics.
Yes.
You want to develop your own mechanics. Start with the foundational elements. We always have people that are like, I want to shoot like Kevin Durant. I want to shoot like Kyle Korver. I want to shoot like Steph Curry. Those guys probably have foundational elements in all of their shooting mechanics, which most of them do, and some of them more so than others. But they also developed in their own space, and you need to do that too. You don't have Kevin Durant's body. You probably don't have Kyle Korver's body. You don't have Steph Curry's body. You have your body. So you need to put the elements together yourself that are going to be best optimized for you. Just because somebody is successful doing what they do doesn't mean that you're going to be successful doing the same thing. You need to figure it out for yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to be chasing, that guy's mechanics the whole time, and it's going to be harder for you to get to the point that you want to get to.
Right. That being said, you still want to make sure that you have solid mechanics whenever you're
that's what I said.
Now, let me finish.
Foundational elements.
Yeah. You want to have those elements that are going to be effective, and they're all going to be kind of similar to the things that great shooters do.
Yeah.
But they may not be exactly. And what we're saying, you don't have to be exactly like somebody to be a really good shooter. But if you have those good foundations, then that's going to make it a lot easier.
Well, I mean, I think in a lot of cases it's going to be impossible. Nobody's going to be able to shoot like Kevin Durant because the guy is, 6'11", 7 foot, and has, this insane wingspan. So you don't have the body proportions that he does.
Well, one thing that comes to my mind, and I see it really kind of often in my students, is that we try to get a nice flow of the wrist follow through. Not everybody's able to do that.
Well, it takes work too for anybody.
It does.
Really,
it takes work, but some people's wrist only allow them to come this far. It took me a long time to figure out that not everybody can break that wrist over on their shot.
Well, here, think about this in terms of like Kevin Durant. He's 6'11", 7 foot, and he's got these extremely long arms.
Yeah.
His release point when he's shooting just casually is going to be probably at the rim or above.
Yeah.
Because that's just how tall he is. So his trajectory on the shot is probably going to be different than somebody that's my height, 6'2", and doesn't have this insane wingspan like he does. Like I'm still pretty much above average in terms of size of a guy, but I'm nowhere near what he is. No. And his arms in terms of, compared to his height are still insanely longer than my arms compared to my height, Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's one of those things where people, if the people are telling you to shoot like Kevin Durant or shoot like so-and-so, I don't think that's a good approach at all. Yeah. Okay, so here is one from Stick Amateur who says, when I get the ball, I always pass it straight away and never dribble because I'm scared I'm going to make a mistake. How can I stop being scared?
Okay. It is amazing how many times we get this kind of question. And it's amazing how many times I come across it with my students. One of the things that fear is your fear of failure, and the fear of failure in the eyes of your coach because you're afraid that he's going to take you out of the game because you screwed something up. Hey, listen, one of the things that you have to take and grow into is that everybody in the game of basketball or any sport probably that you can think of is this: they're going to make mistakes. And the thing is that you may have to pay for those mistakes. How you might have to pay for them is maybe you've got to go sit down for a while and then you come back in later. But the point is that you stymie your game, you stymie your team's game if you are unwilling to participate in the game by taking the ball and giving it up to somebody else. Maybe you've got a great opportunity, but you're just, the fear of failure is in your eyes. And when that's the case, you're probably not going to be very effective. And so what if you screw it up? What if you throw the ball away? Oh, well, that happens to us all. And so my point on it is be willing to accept some failure to grow and become more confident, because confidence only comes from recognizing your failures and addressing those failures and then move on.
I think that there's that is one element and the major element. I think the other element is just getting your skills to the level where you feel confident with them. A lot of people, they struggle with the confidence part because they know that their skills are not going to be there when they need them. Yeah. So if you work on building your skills and you do the 3 pillars of practice that we talk about every week, then you will be in much better shape than if you just go out there on the floor and you're just trying to wing it and you haven't put in the work. Yeah. So I think you need to be ready to fail and make mistakes, because it's no big deal. It really does not matter at all. And then put in the work to develop your skills. And then I also think go out there, take a breath, take a second to assess, and just relax. You have to flip the switch in your brain where you're not going to just panic every time that you catch the ball. And it's going to be different for every single person, but you need to figure out a way to get over that. And maybe it's playing more one-on-one. Maybe it's, spending more time playing in the kind of practice area with your coach in terms of, getting, working with other players and stuff. I don't know. But if you catch the ball and you just immediately panic, I think that that's kind of a mental space that you need to get out of.
Well, we've had a couple of players that played for us this year, and one of the things that they want to do as soon as they catch the ball is they want to get rid of it, and we call that the hot potato. You don't want that thing in your hands to burn your hands, and so you're going to give it up to somebody else as soon as possible, so you don't screw it up. And it has taken time with these two players to get them, number one, to slow down. And when you talk about slowing down, you think, well, you don't want to play slow. Well, what you want to do is play at a speed where you can operate effectively. And sometimes that's not just going as like crazy people.
Right.
And this one particular guy get a rebound and turn, and he's ready to throw it to anybody, and oftentimes throws it to the wrong team. And so now he's gotten a lot better with that. He takes more time. He takes the ball off. He looks and finds out where people are before he tries to pass the basketball. He's not any longer afraid to have the ball in his hands.
I think a lot of times this happens with people that play in the post, like they freak out. But one of the best things that you can do is take a single breath or take a single count and then do something instead of catching the ball and immediately having to feel like you need to do something.
Exactly.
If you take 1 second or one count where you just catch it, one, and then you do something, then I think that you'll feel like you have a little bit more control of the situation and realize that 1 second is not going to, have, apocalypse time. Nothing crazy is going to happen. You're going to be fine.
And the thing is that when you have the basketball, as long as you take care of it, you could stand there for 2 or 3 or 4 seconds if you needed to, but
you don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. But if you needed to, you could, if you just get the ball into position where you can take and protect it. Oftentimes what I find with the people who are most uncomfortable with the basketball, like Casey saying, are the people who play with their back to the basket. They're not used to having the ball in their hand very much, and they're certainly not used to dribbling the ball very much. And so they just want to get rid of it. And so they hurry. Everything is a rush. And one of the things that we talk about on a regular basis is slow down. And I had a
slow
player,
down and assess.
Yeah, I had a player that is a girl player. She plays on a local high school team, and she's really a really good player. But her game was hampered by the fact that she just was running out of control. And we talked about, worked on, and what we were able to finally do is get her to slow her game down. And now, instead of scoring 8 points a game, she's been averaging double figures, and she's had a couple of 24-point games just because she kind of slowing down, take it under control. And when it's time to go, she will go, but she's under control. Very important thing for you to do as basketball players is have yourself under control.
Yeah, and also just kind of try to learn to read the situations too, because a lot of times people panic because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you're a little bit more analytical about things, even before you catch the ball, but especially as soon as you catch the ball, know what's going on, know where your defender is, know where your teammates' defenders are, know where your teammates are, and you'll be in much better shape than if you catch the ball and you suddenly panic and don't know what to do. Always be kind of reading what's going on. Don't overthink it, but just kind of know what's going on, right?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. This is from our buddy Nathan Thompson, who is at NateT_AF, who's here every week. This is going to take just a little second to read, but he tweeted at us. He says, I want to get a little stronger because I feel like I'm a little bit weak and small. I don't want to lift or actually try to build large amounts of muscle mass because I know that's going to be a lot of work for a little payoff, and I should work on my skills more, which I am. I just need a little half-hour workout in the morning to work on toning my muscle. Push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, maybe some wall sits are some ideas, but I have no idea how to create an effective regimen without hurting myself. Any ideas? Okay, yeah. Number one, I would say go check out our vertical jump handbook and the vertical jump series videos, because I think those are great at kind of helping you build kind of like your lower chain, your legs and stuff like that. I think the key here is functional movements. if you get into kind of isolating isometric movements, I think that's not going to be as beneficial, especially for younger people. But if you're doing things like the things you mentioned, push-ups, pull-ups, blah, 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 those are good things. I also think that doing things like jump rope are really good.
Yeah.
Work on, your footwork is another situation that you need to kind of address as well. But make sure that you are not doing things that are, I mean, here's the thing, you're not going to build a lot of muscle mass, I can guarantee that, unless you are actively doing stuff that's going to you know really put on muscle, like adding on weights and doing big isometric lifts and things like that. You're not going to be adding tons of muscle. If you're doing functional movements, then you'll really start to be doing things for your body that are going to make you stronger and more conditioned.
Talk about what define functional movement.
Functional movements are kind of movements that apply to the game or sport that you are going to be playing. So in terms of basketball, I think that anything that is kind of an unweighted movement is probably good, like a push up or a pull up. I think those are good and kind of apply a little bit, but I think it more applies to like your conditioning. So in terms of running or anything like that, you're not going to want to be doing long distance endurance runs. You're going to want to be doing things like sprints and suicides or ladders, and things where you're going to have a high intensity kind of element that is paired with a low intensity, and you kind of go between those two over a period of time. And so, you're sprinting, like let's say you're running on the track, you're sprinting the straights and walking the curves. Right. And you do that for 15 or 20 minutes. I think that's going to help you more than doing tons of kind of conditioning things. And here's the other thing too. A lot of people think that you need to be like this big burly dude and have all this strength, and if you add all this strength, it's going to help your game to this incredible point. I don't think that is the case at all. I think a lot of people put too much emphasis into that. Look at guys like Stephen Curry or Kevin Durant. These guys are strong guys, but they are also not these, big, bulky, muscular guys
like Dwight Howard.
Yeah,
LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, of course, people that have built those physiques and stuff like that are naturally kind of geared more for that. I mean, that might help them, to a certain degree. But I also think that it doesn't help you if that's not your body type or kind of part of your conditioning. I don't think that helps you more than actually working on your game. If your game is to the point where it needs to be, then it's not going to matter really how big and muscular you are. If you get out there and play and you can condition yourself, I think that's really more important. So check out our vertical jump series stuff. Also check out Alan Stein's stuff is really good. He has a lot of functional movement stuff there. But I think if you work with Alan Stein's stuff and you use our stuff from the vertical jump series, because it's all about developing overall athleticism. It's not about vertical jump. It's not just about, this one thing. It's all about your all around athleticism
and explosion.
That's part of that. Yeah. That's part of athleticism. Yeah. Okay. This one is from Taylor Porter in the chat. He says, how to transfer practicing ball handling to in-game ball handling. Okay. This sounds like a case for the 3 pillars of practice. Yeah. So here's our thoughts on getting any skill from kind of the workshop to the game. What you want to do is have the 3 pillars of practice. And it starts in the first pillar, which is developing developing kind of dialing in all the mechanics themselves. So you're going to slow everything down. You're going to pare it down so that it's all just very simple elements. And you're really just trying to ingrain everything that you can into muscle memory. And so you're going to work on, in terms of ball handling, you're going to work on pounding the ball. You're going to work on your ability to do that with both hands. You're going to work on your control. You're going to work on your dynamic movements and things like that, where you're moving with the ball. So that's the first pillar. And then the second pillar is game speed, game intensity work, where you take everything that you learned and developed in that first pillar and just amp it up to what you will see in an actual game. So that means that you're going to up the speed, you're going to up the intensity, and you're going to maybe add in a defender, add in game situations, and you're just going to drill that as much as you can. And you're going to do that over and over and over again until that becomes muscle memory at that speed. And then the third pillar is taking that to a game. And once you do that, you're trying to take the things that you did in the first two pillars and get them to the point where if you step into any game situation, you'll have the experience built up that you're going to have those skills. And it's not an easy thing to do. You got to put in the work, but it's the only way to get there. There's no other way to do it. And if you have kind of that mentality when you're trying to develop things where you know you're going to break it into these three parts, and you make sure that you address each of those parts, you will get to the point that you want to much faster than you will if you're just trying to work on your ball handling by yourself at kind of the slow, stationary stuff, and then you try to step into a game. That does not happen. It takes forever if you go that route because you're not drilling yourself at game speed, and so you're not going to have all the things that you worked on there at your ready when you step into the game. And I talked to Grayson Boucher, who's the professor, and he talked so much about the fact that if you want to develop game speed kind of moves, you have to be working on them at game speed. Otherwise, you will never be able to develop that skill. And he spent so much time putting himself into game situations, visually, mentally, rehearsing and visualizing defenders being there, putting defenders there and drilling that stuff. And then you step into the game and you actually have it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So 3 pillars of practice. We talk about that every week.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here, you guys. If you guys want us to answer your questions, make sure you shoot us whatever you want to ask basketball related to us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science, or you can hit us up here in the chat and we'll try to get to as many people as we possibly can. And try to share that we're on live right now. That would be cool. Let's see. This one is from Ryan Ulrichs, who says, I'm a power forward / center, and I want to play guard because I know I will not always be one of the tallest on the court when I get older. What should I do to train / play for this position? Okay. You know what we're going to say.
Well, the thing is that for the moment, you might be stuck playing in that post position with your back to the basket or forward. But in the off season is a great time for you to take and work on the skills that would probably make you more effective as a point guard or a 2-3 guard. And that's what I would do. And as you get better with those skills, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of work working on your ball skills, a lot of work on your shooting skills, attacking the basket. Then you may find that the coach feels like you'd be a more valuable player by moving you into one of those spots. And coaches use their players and place them based upon what they think they can do for the best of the team. And you're probably playing where you are right now because they feel that is the best contribution that you can make. But if you not suddenly, it takes months and months and months maybe, but you develop those skills where you can break people down and go by them and get to the basket. You have the ability to catch and shoot that 3-pointer, and you have ball skills, allows you to take care of the ball under pressure. Those are the kind of things that you take and work on the off season. You may be pleasantly surprised what happens when your coach realizes that you have those skills.
Well, here's the thing.
No coach would turn down, and I'm just guessing here because I have no idea how big you are, but let's say that you're 6'4", and no coach is going to turn down a point guard or a 2 guard who's 6'4" and has all the skills that they need to play facing the basket. They're not going to turn that down.
Okay, here's what I was going to say. I was just going to say that you want to make yourself a great all-around player. Yep. Too many people focus on these position-specific skills, or that's what they're focusing on for themselves personally. The best thing you can do, especially as a young player, is develop your skills all around. Because if you focus just on one, then that's what you are going to be. You're going to be a center. You're going to be a power forward, whatever. But if you're able to do all these things, you will fit in somewhere on the team, and you'll be able to be much more valuable to a coach because he'll look at you as, okay, if I need a guy that can step into the 2 spot, but he can also play the 3, I'm going to take that guy over the guy that can just play the 3, or whatever the situation may be. And a guy that's able to run the point, but he can also step in and take his guy into the post.
Absolutely.
That guy is going to be killer. Yeah. Or vice versa, the guy that plays in the post that can step out and pull that big guy away from the basket and hit the long shot. That guy is going to be much more valuable than the big guy that just sits there in the middle and can only do one thing.
Right.
So, our advice for anybody, no matter what the question is number one, just be a great all-around player. Be able to shoot, be able to take them off the drive, be able to play defense, be able to distribute the ball. Just be an all-around great player. Then all of that stuff about position play and everything will start to fall into place. You won't have to worry about, everybody else is getting taller as I stay the same size, so I need to change my position. If you are great at all these different things, then you will be in much better shape. And then there's people that worry about, I need to learn how to drive to the basket. I can only shoot, or this guy's crowding me and I can't get to the basket. All of these questions are answered by the fact that if you are a great all-around player, you will not have those problems.
Right.
So that is our advice for everybody, is don't just focus on being some specialized guy. That's a real great way to pigeonhole yourself and get into some trouble.
Well, not only that, but you may pigeonhole yourself and bury yourself in the lineup because you got 2 or 3 guys that are better than you are. And so by developing that whole well-rounded game, maybe they're shy at a position that where you can slide right in and be very effective there. So Casey is really right about the fact that you want to develop yourself as a basketball player.
This is what happens a lot when you see guys that go from high school to college. And in high school, they're the man. They're just dominating. They're playing let's say they're playing power forward, and they're just killing everybody that they're going up against. They get recruited and they go to some Division I school. They walk into the court the first day, and all of a sudden there's 3 guys that are their size or bigger, and they are better
and can do so much more. Yeah.
And what does that guy do? He has to play behind those guys, or at least work his way up through those guys. And a lot of times people peter out after they were the man in high school, and that's one of the reasons why, is because they kind of pigeonholed themselves, and they're not very versatile. Yeah. And if you're versatile, well, maybe they didn't have a 2 guard on that team, so now you can step into the 2 guard position. I mean, you really need to set yourself up for your best interest, really.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, let's move on. We got a lot of stuff to get through. This one is from Eric Karatonasvili. Whoa, that's a crazy one. I totally screwed that up. But here we go. He says, how can I beat a 3-2 zone defense and break the zone press as the point guard? I'm in 8th grade and I'm on my travel team. I can torch up the 2 and the 3 and am really good in man-to-man. But when they are in 3-2 or zone pressing, it's really hard for me to get things going.
You're talking about 2 things there that are kind of different. One of them is versus the 2-3 zone, and the other, I'm guessing, is a pressing zone defense that is maybe extended to either 3/4 or full court, and you attack them a little bit differently as the point guard. Usually, your coach is going to have a plan as to what he wants you to do there. And one of the things that is really good against any zone, no matter what type it is ball movement. When you are involved in the full court press, typically it is a trapping press, a zone press. They want to trap you in the corners or close to the sideline where they can really put you in a hot spot.
Or they want you to pick up the ball
or pick up the basketball. And so one of the things that we have very little trouble typically year in and year out with pressing defenses. I'm going to just stay on that for a moment. And the reason for it is that we move the ball before anybody can actually come and trap us. We use a lot of ball fakes. And, one of the things that you'll find if you go to our channel, you're going to find a video, and the name of that video is Fake a Pass to Make a Pass. And we use that really extensively when we're talking about any kind of a zone. I'm going to take and fake this pass over here to get them to move so I can get the pass that I really want. And so that's really important. So passing before they can trap. The other thing is ball reversals from one side of the floor to the other. And usually that requires that you have 3 people back to be able to do that. We think it's kind of hard to beat presses when you only have 2 people back because they're usually going to match up with you. But if we can get 3 and we can get some ball movement from one side of the floor to the other, and we do it before they can get to any trapping situation, we're usually going to be able to get the ball into the middle, or we're going to be able to get it up the sideline on one side or the other. So those things are important to remember when you're in that press.
And the thing with the press there's always these kind of like hardline rules that you should stick to. And those are a few of them. You know, obviously stay away from the sidelines, stay away from the mid-court line after you've passed over it.
Yep.
You know, one of the things too is that if you have guys that are coming to trap you, you have two guys running at you, choose one of those guys and run directly at him. And what you do in that, excuse me, what that does is that makes it much harder for that other guy to kind of come and corral you. And then you can put the move on that one guy. A lot of times people, they freeze up, and then they're all of a sudden those guys are on top of them. Then they don't have anywhere to go. But if you have the ball and you can take and make that decision to attack that one guy, then you are in control, not the other way around. Those defenders are not in control. So you can attack that guy, you can take him off the dribble, and then you're not going to find yourself trapped if you let that kind of come to you. So stay away from the sidelines, stay away from the midcourt after you pass it over. Ball reversals are good. Ball fakes are good. You're trying to get the defense off balance, essentially. Right. And if you do that through the ball fakes or the ball reversal, then you are the thing about, okay, let's slow it down. When it comes to, okay, this is a complex situation kind of, but when it comes to offense or defense, you as a player need to always be trying to be in control and take over the situation. If you are trying to react to the situation, then I think that puts you at the disadvantage. When you are an offensive player and you are taking control of the situation, and like in that situation I said with the trap, you are going after that one guy, you are in control. They are not in control. If you sit there and you wait for those guys to come trap you, they are in control, and you have to react to what they do. So make them react to you, not the other way around. And the thing is true with defense too. Like if you're playing defense, you don't want to wait for that guy to make a move on you and then react to him, because you're going to be a step behind. But if you are cutting him off, beating him to the spot, hedging him or whatever, denying him the ball, you are in control, not him. And that makes you the one that has the advantage, right? Okay, so now he's talking about this.
Now, hang on. We're not finished here yet. One of the most important things about beating zone presses particularly is that you have to have patience and take your time, and you're not listening to that clock tick in your head and finding that you're getting close to the 10-second call. And so then you get really panicky and you throw those passes that are errant, and they're going to steal those and come back and beat you. One of the things that my take on it is this, and this is how we teach our guys. Take your time, be patient, do not worry about the 10-second violation. And that sounds kind of absurd, but when you stop and think about this, if I feel that panic and I throw a pass that is going to be intercepted, probably what is going to happen is they're going to have us in a 2 or 3-on-1 or 3-on-2 situation getting to the basket. We don't want that. And so what we want to do is, if we're getting close, we don't worry about it. We're making good passes. And if we take a time violation, okay, game stops. They take the ball out of bounds. We get a chance to collect our defense and get ready to go again. So we don't throw some panic pass that turns into a layup for them and maybe an and one on top of that. So that's kind of our approach on how to deal with zone presses.
Yeah, and panicking is a response to not taking control of the situation. Take control and have confidence that you are the one with the advantage.
Well, even more importantly, presses are all about panic.
All right.
They want you to get into a panic mode that you're going to take and be playing much faster than you're usually playing. And when you're playing faster, you're probably more likely to make errant passes that they can pick off and go.
All right. We need to wrap that one up. He also was asking about the 2-3 zone. Yeah. And the thing with the 2-3 zone is, with any zone, you want to attack the gaps, drive and draw the defense, and then dish it off to your teammates.
Ball reversal. Huge. Ball fakes are huge.
You're just trying to get that defense off balance and trying to get them to react. And once you do that, then you have more opportunities to get things going. Also, a lot of people think, like, and it kind of sounded like when you were talking about your thing there, that you are the one that needs to make something happen to get the zone to break down. That's not the case. You have to work with your teammates to get a zone to break down. Yep. And that's where the ball reversal ball fakes, all these things will help you guys break down the zone. Okay.
Okay. We're not finished with that one yet. One of the other problems in facing a zone defense is that if you are outside playing at the perimeter, one of the mistakes that most young players make is they don't look inside into the middle of the defense. A 2-3 has a soft spot right in the middle of it. A 1-2-2 has a soft spot right in the middle of it. And when you can hit players who are in that position or coming into what we call a flash, they're going to have immediate looks at the basket right there. But what I find is that a lot of young players play around and never looked for that penetration pass.
Well, it's like a shell drill or something like that. And, you have to kind of tell your guys to flash the middle and hit those open spots as well, too. So,
and the outside guys got to see them.
Yeah. Okay. Lightning round, because we are way behind here. We got to get through a bunch of these questions. Okay. This one is from Blake Connier. He says, can I come down to where you live for a summer, and can you train me so I can make my basketball team my senior year?
Absolutely.
If you want to come down, we live in Santa Cruz, California, which is south of San Francisco. Just send us an email and we'll see what we can do.
You bet.
Okay. This one is from Jack Palmer, who says, how do I get better at post moves? Any tips? Thanks. Okay. Yes. Work on them and practice them. And apply the 3 pillars of practice. Same deal. We also think that when it comes to the post moves or any kind of move, really, you need to have 2 to 3 go-tos that you are just great at, and then a counter to each of those. So an example of that would be the jump hook that you counter with an up and under, so that if somebody shuts down or has seen your jump hook 5 times, you can go to that up and under and it looks like the jump hook, but it turns into something else and you can get them on that.
Exactly right. Yep.
This one is from Daniel Aniasi, who says, do you have any strength training workouts for a point guard? We think that just doing the conditioning stuff and this training from the vertical jump handbook is really great for anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a point guard or not. It will help you with your explosion, your athleticism, your vertical, your lateral movements, all that stuff. In terms of other kind of strength training things to check out Alan Stein's Stronger Team stuff. Right. Brian Kelly asked, how do I develop consistency when shooting?
You spend time on it, a lot of time.
Well, you've already used the word. Consistent shooting requires consistent practice.
Exactly.
And, again, 3 pillars of practice. If you're applying the 3 pillars of practice consistently, you will not have to worry about developing consistency with your shot. It will just be there. And like we say, you can't just go out on Monday and work on your shooting and expect for your shot to be there on Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
You need to work on it every single day, maybe to varying degrees, doing various different things, but you need to work on it every day if you can do that. Okay, this one is from Dat Baseballer. You're in the wrong place, buddy. He says, if I'm in the low post or somewhere on either side of the basket towards the baseline, is it better to try and shoot it straight or to bank it? I'm a post player mainly.
Well, there's a little bit of
there's a sweet spot for bank shots.
Yeah, and it's not being right along the baseline. But sometimes when you turn into the basket, let's say from the baseline, and you turn in and you're going to take and put up a little layup kind of shot, then I would use a bank shot. If you're stepping away, if you're a little further away from the backboard, I like to just go right to the basket, right to the hoop, right to the nest. I don't like the bank shots when you step away. Now that was
step away means like how far away? I mean,
7, 8, 10, 15 feet. I don't like the bank shot at all in those distances. I like the fact that you're going right to the hoop. Now, years ago, John Wooden used to be such a proponent for using the bank shot with his team. I think the entire country began to use nothing but bank shots because they thought that was the only way that you shoot it. I don't happen to buy that myself.
Well, I think that there's a definite sweet spot for that, and you have to find where it is.
Yeah, it is, and it changes too by your angle on the basket.
Yeah, I mean, if you get too acute to where the backboard is, and you try to bank shot, it's going to make it a much more difficult shot.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
And if you get more towards the middle of the court, it's going to be a much more difficult shot. There is a very kind of defined area where that bank shot really does work.
Right.
But you need to kind of work and try to figure out what that is for you. Okay, lightning round. We need to get through these. This is crazy. This is from Tony Williams, who says, last school year I played point guard, and over the summer I grew a lot. And now I have to play power forward centered. I hate and I hate it. How do I get into the new position? We already talked about that. Become an all-around great player that can do everything. Then you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. This one is from Panagoitis Apocoda. Oh my gosh, this is
Panagoitis.
These Greek names are killing me. He says, I have this problem where every time I shoot, the ball hits or lightly touches my forehead. I've tried to fix it by making my set point a little higher than most, but it still hits my forehead. Any advice?
Yeah.
Stop hitting your forehead.
Exactly.
3 pillars of practice. First pillar, work on not doing that.
That's only through repetition. One of the things we can't just hope that it's going to happen. I have a young lady who is left-handed and she shoots off her shoulder over here.
Use the form shooting drill.
Yeah, and she's having trouble getting it over in front of her shooting eye, but it's getting better each week. She gets more consistent with the hand being in the right place, and that's what it takes.
Use the form shooting drill. Work on that one-handed grip, and that will help you a lot. Then you add in the other hand.
Yeah.
But check out our video on the form shooting drill. Okay, this one's from Nate Thompson again. He says, I watch Steph Curry a lot, and it seems like he can pull it from anywhere, no matter what the situation he's in. How does he get space and shoot off the dribble so well, and how can I work on this? Okay, this is obviously it's tough because Steph Curry is a master at this stuff, but what you need to work on is the footwork for shooting, and especially when you're coming off the dribble, that quick 1-2 right up into the shot is really what you want to do. Get that last dribble should be a real pound, but you should always be trying to create space by stepping out and moving yourself forward. A lot of people take these little steps or they take these little dribbles. You need to really push the ball out. You need to change speed, change direction, use those dribble attacks. And that's kind of essentially what he does in a nutshell.
Plus, he practices hours and hours and hours every day.
All right, here's another quick one from Twitter. It says, it feels like when someone is guarding me close, I can't do anything except get around them. And when I do get around them, there's always a big man that steps up and pressures me hard to make a bad pass or go up and get blocked. What should I do? Okay. If that big guy is stepping up to you, what is happening?
Well, somebody's open.
Yeah.
And so he's given up his player there, and that means that you can dish it to his player. One of the things that we oftentimes think about, and we have this rule, is that, and the rule is this: they crowd, I go. And they crowd means that they get up into our space really tight where we feel uncomfortable. And that's the moment when we're going to attack them, and we're going to attack them to the basket. And when we go, we're going to try and take a corner off of them as we go. What happens is that when that player is up in your face, they don't have time to react to you without there being contact. If officials are on their toes, they're going to be called for a foul there, and they're going to have to get off of you. And as far as the other person stepping up, that we just talked about that a moment ago, somebody's open. Be able to get them the basketball.
You just did what you were supposed to do. You drew that guy. You drew that guy off of his guy, and now you got a dish.
Yeah.
Okay. Lightning round. Remember, we have 2 minutes left here. This is from Akanor NBA something or other. He says, what is an efficient way to score in the post, and how do I create space? Okay, go watch our post videos, our post move videos, and we show you how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really an efficient way to score. Blake Cunnier asked, you already asked that one. Let's see. Chandler Marriott says, I want to start shooting better to a point almost like Steph Curry. So any tips, and how many shots do I need to take before I work at our game? Thanks. Okay. Stephen Curry didn't just say that he wanted to start shooting like that. He went out and he practiced and he worked on it every day for years. And you need to do the same thing. Set yourself up for success, though. Work on building these fundamentals. Use the 3 pillars of practice. And, it's going to be several hundred shots a day. I mean, that's really
or more. One of the things that we heard recently is that before every practice, Steph Curry makes 1,000 shots.
That's
practice.
That's too many, I think.
Well, for a regular a regular player, maybe 500 is better. But I would do it.
I mean, it gets to a point where you mentally start to break down.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, you start to physically break down.
Yeah.
I think probably 500 a day is a little bit too much.
But consistency is the
whatever
key.
Works for you.
You need to do it all the time.
Repetition.
And you need to also do game speed, game intensity, not just spot up, casual stuff.
Yeah.
You really need to do a bunch of stuff. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for us today, you guys. If we didn't get to your question, it's not because we don't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. So if you want us to answer your question, make sure you hit us up during the week. You can catch us on Twitter. We are at Shot Science. You can catch us on Facebook, Google+. You can also catch us on YouTube. If you find, if your question has a video that we've kind of already done, try to find a video that applies to what your question is. Right. And ask it there, and we typically get back to most everybody that we can. Also, excuse me, I got something in my throat. Also, it would be great if you guys could go out and tell your friends and family to watch our show. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to us on YouTube, because we put out all of our videos and stuff there. You know, we've had some stuff recently in the last couple of weeks, and we'll have some more stuff this next week. So make sure you check all that stuff out. Join the team. Make sure that you're on Team Shot Science and you're telling everybody you can about it. We really appreciate that. And we will see you next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Actually, we won't. I won't be here. Yeah. We might have a weird live show sometime during the week, but I will actually be gone. So not this week. We will see you guys next week, the week after that, 1 p.m. Pacific time. See you guys. Right?
Bye, guys. Thanks.